Well, the administration is blatantly lining apartheid Ken's pockets. Let's break that down. Hi, I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this is The Breakdown. If you're enjoying our commentary, be sure to hit subscribe to Legal AF, and you can get all the breaking news and analysis coming out of this administration. So, it has now come to light in another unethical, unconstitutional, un-American, un-everything. It has now come to light that the State Department has been conducting a months-long campaign to push a small African country to help Elon Musk, I affectionately refer to him as Apartheid Ken, help his satellite company Starlink get more business. So this is how it's all shaking out. So the U.S. ambassador to Gambia basically showed up at the communications ministry in Gambia and was basically like, y'all need to sign this deal and approve internet access via Starlink. Only Starlink, no one else. No competitors, no one else. Starlink. So the communications minister was like, okay, but we have protocols and we have requirements and all of that, like not opposed to Starlink, but they're going to have to follow the regulatory framework that we have in place in this country. Well, the US ambassador was like, yeah, well, you do know that there's about $25 million set aside for a project to improve the electrical system in Gambia. Yeah, well, that's under review right now. So basically, it was a threat. It was like, if y'all don't sign this, you're not going to get $25 million to help your country's infrastructure. The communications minister was like, whoa, okay, slow your roll. This is a little crazy. But the ambassador to Gambia didn't stop there. She then hit up the president of Gambia and said, first of all, you need to have the communications minister resign. And secondly, you need to push this deal through. It's to the point that the Gambian cabinet, one of the members of the Gambian cabinet, said that their country was under maximum pressure to yield and have Starlink be the sole internet provider in their country. Now, let's also understand a little bit about Gambia. Now, Gambia is historically a country that was at the center of human trafficking back in the day when people were being enslaved. And they sadly had a dictator over the course of pretty much the last 2 decades that was, the usual evil dictatorness, right? Killing people, looting the coffers to be able to buy himself luxury items, that sort of thing. They recently finally managed to depose him and have a democratic government. They have elections and all of that. But they are a fledgling democracy. That would be the easiest way to describe them. But they're also severely impoverished. More than half the population lives on $4 US a day. Like, hello, that's bad. So when that threat of we're going to withhold $25 million hits, that is something they're really going to have to take to heart, because they're not going to be able to do any of this infrastructure work without outside help. And so now they're between a rock and a hard place. They want this money, they want to be able to move forward, but they also want Starlink to adhere to the rules and regulations of this country, which Starlink is making it very clear they have no interest in doing that. This is what's happening in Gambia, but let's be clear, this is not an isolated incident. Ambassadors have intervened in 4 countries so far. Now, some of the names aren't out there because the talks are ongoing and a lot of these countries just kind of don't want to be on the radar with what's happening, but it is currently being said that 4 countries are facing similar types of pressure. Additionally, we have the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, telling diplomats to help Starlink so that it can beat Chinese and Russian competitors. Okay, why is that the government's business? I mean, isn't this all the cost of commerce, right? Like, everybody competes and you have a better product and more people come to you? No, not so much? Okay. You also have countries like India who sped up approvals for Starlink because they were being threatened with tariffs. Yeah. Same kind of deal happened in Lesotho, which is another country in Africa. And after the president imposed 50% tariffs on Lesotho, which, be clear, is a tiny country. I mean, hello. Suddenly, Starlink got their approvals, and they're now the main internet provider in Lesotho, if not the only one. So there's that. Since the current president entered office, at least 5 African countries have granted licenses to Starlink. That includes the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Somalia, Guinea-Bissau, Lesotho, and Chad. Again, you can imagine these are countries without a ton of resources in terms of money and all of that. So it doesn't take a lot of pressure to force them into these agreements. Whether or not these agreements are right for their country is a whole separate discussion. But here's the problematic thing about all of this. We have the president that is using his office, using ambassadors, using different departments to force countries to enrich his buddy. Okay? Elon Musk plays a huge role in this administration. He also simultaneously has a huge private business that he's running. The president said when Elon Musk, apartheid Ken, joined the administration, listen, we're going to make sure there's no conflict of interest. He's going to step away whenever there's a conflict. Okay, Exhibit A, that this is not happening. And that all conflicts of interest here are being completely ignored. And the American government is seeking to enrich a private company. Yeah, just a reminder that elections have consequences. Going to be keeping an eye on that and keeping all of you informed. I'm Melba Pearson, also known as the Resident Legal Diva, and this was The Breakdown. Take care.
I'm Michael Popak, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popak Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popak Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event, by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states, and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popak Firm today at 1-877-POPAK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopakfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popak Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.